Long gone are the days of Dark Souls being an obscure Japanese release. Everyone within the current gaming landscape has at least heard of the series. With its punishing nature and overall difficulty presented to the player, it has garnished a reputation of one of the most challenging games of the modern era. Nevertheless, there is a subset of gamers to whom simply finishing the game isn't enough. Instead, they choose to race against the clock and attempt to beat it as fast as possible, incorporating breathtaking strategies in their pursuit of the fastest possible speedrun. Strategies often completely missed by the general player base. I often get asked how the different glitches, exploits, and strategies utilized by Dark Souls speedrunners get discovered. My answers are usually either by accident,
What?
trial and error, or by building upon already acquired profound knowledge of the game. In most cases, it will be the speedrunners or glitch hunters who come up with these game-breaking discoveries, allowing for world record times to be continuously lowered and pushed to their limits. Yay! Sub 20! Sometimes, however, it is not people from within the speedrunning realm who end up being the inventors of brand new strategies or exploits. With a game like Dark Souls, many people enjoy and replay the title. The more people play it, the higher the likelihood of something special occurring. It is one of these rare instances where an outsider came into the speedrunning community and ended up transforming Dark Souls speedruns, which we will cover today. A mysterious individual revealing a shocking new strategy hidden in plain sight all along. Please enjoy the story a decade in the making. Dark Souls has 26 different bosses overall, 4 spectacular ones contained within the DLC portion of the game: Sanctuary Guardian, Artorias, Manus, and last but not least, Kalameet. It is this ancient dragon who has a distinct gimmick tied to his fight. While the other 3 bosses are confronted head-on immediately upon entering their arena, stepping foot inside Kalameet's domain results in the chosen undead being burned to a crisp, while the beast enjoys its view from high up above. Although damaging Kalameet in this state is possible, we are limited to ranged attacks only. At the same time, his attacks covering the entire terrain deal huge amounts of damage and poise, making most attempts to block them a hopeless effort. Clearly, in order to have a chance at slaying this mighty creature, grounding it would be necessary. This is where we meet Goth, a giant archer with a giant bow, and the legends say he's a pretty good shot as well. The issue is that he somehow ended up residing atop this tower, with a single tiny ladder leading up to it, locked behind a door. Of course. Opening this door requires the crest key to be obtained, which is guarded by a mimic further down the Abyss-Rotten Ulusil township. After this detour, one doesn't have to ask Goth twice to help them out. Nice shot. Oh yeah, Goth is blind by the way. Anyways, with Kalameet injured, re-entering his arena now results in a grounded encounter, and the boss can be faced in a regular battle. While it seems that completing this side quest is mandatory for Kalameet to be killed, Dark Souls rarely limits the player's options, and it didn't take long after the DLC's release until a way to bypass this requirement was discovered. With an extremely high-leveled character coated in heavy armor along with a highly protective shield, it was possible to hide beneath this waterfall, where Kalameet's AoE attacks didn't spread out as much, hitting the chosen undead only once or twice per each attack. Surviving the cycle of attacks created an opportunity to shoot an arrow every time Kalameet approached the arena. The damage dealt with each arrow was understandably low, so depleting Kalameet's health bar with this method took well over an hour, making it quite the opposite of a speedrun. Once his health reached 0, a death animation would play after the current one was finished. The player was rewarded with the Calamity Ring and 60,000 souls, proving the boss was indeed dead. The developers expected the community to figure out a way of killing Kalameet without Goth's assistance, as doing so results in the giant delivering a special line of dialogue.
And I see that the great black dragon Kalameet is dusted by thine hand. Wondrously played. Lord Winds, blessing upon thee.
This strategy would understandably find no use in speedrunning, but it was nevertheless good to know about, as many other groundbreaking strategies started from small beginnings. And although it took 6 long years, even Golfless Kalameet would eventually see a breakthrough. In the summer of 2019, an unfamiliar individual joined the Speed Souls community Discord, posting their first message. Claiming it was probably not very useful, they linked to a YouTube video, the only one on their channel, titled Kalameet Before Goth, Sorcery Strategy. The individual's name was Skydan, and they had no idea about the avalanche their not very useful strategy was about to start. The video itself shows Skydan utilizing a very stable shield to block, although not fully absorb Kalameet's air attacks. Instead of standing all the way in the back of the arena under the waterfall like the old approach did, they advanced as close to Kalameet as possible, putting the boss within the range of magic spells, something the old positioning couldn't do. As Skydan was able to survive the initial onslaught, they simply healed back up between Kalameet's attack cycles, managing to safely cast one Soul Spear before being forced to block the next set of attacks. Although this strategy still took a considerable amount of time, it was an extreme improvement over the 1 hour lasting bow version. It also didn't require such a high-end character, making it much more achievable in regular playthroughs. While Skydan wasn't able to further optimize the strategy, it is here where the community aspect of speedrunning comes into play. Many people view speedrunning as all about competition and shattering world records. While these achievements are remarkable on their own, they present just the peak of the speedrunning mountain which is made up of teamwork of people who share their love for a single video game. Skydan even mentioned they discovered the sorcery approach all the way back in 2017, but had no way of capturing it. While Dark Souls speedrunning was very different during that time, just imagine how much history's timeline could have been altered. It was clear this method of fighting Kalameet without Goth possessed great potential, as being able to skip the second trip to Kalameet, obtaining the Crest Key, and visiting Goth in his tower saved almost 3 minutes. There were still problems holding this strategy back, however. First was the lack of damage. The Red Tearstone Ring's effect is only active while under 20% health, therefore it was out of question, because blocking Kalameet's attacks didn't completely negate the incoming damage. Second was the inability to hit Kalameet more than once per each cycle. If these issues could be resolved, Gothless might have become viable even in the fastest speedrunning routes. Regarding our damage output, Kalameet's damage is a mix of physical and magic, making it problematic to fully absorb with almost any reasonably available shield. But Skydan had a different thought. Could there instead be a way of enhancing whatever shield we had at the time and block Kalameet's attacks that way? This idea was indeed going in the right direction. A rarely used sorcery guarded by the Channelers of Duke's Archives, the Strong Magic Shield, might just fit our specific needs perfectly. It can be applied to any shield and not only increases the stability of the buffed equipment by 50%, but primarily negates all successfully blocked damage. This would mean that as long as none of Kalameet's attacks broke our guard, we could survive with arbitrary amount of health, allowing the Red Tearstone Ring to be used, providing a substantial boost to our damage. This is exactly the method Khemul used to finish the Gothless fight in just 2 minutes, pushing it even closer to speedrunning viability. As for the cycles, remember how I mentioned the attacks covered the entire arena? Well, further testing of positions around the edge revealed not only a spot from which hitting 2 Soul Spears per cycle was possible, but also a blind spot by the left side, where Kalameet's second attack didn't need to be blocked. These two developments combined allowed killing the boss comfortably in just 3 or even 2 cycles, depending on the damage available within the particular route. Furthermore, the Dusk Crown Ring, which grants 50% extra castings to spells, was also used in order to have 4 strong magic shield casts available for the fight. That made approaching the arena's edge very simple. After rigorous testing throughout the entirety of ESA Summer 2019, Khemul was successfully able to incorporate Gothless into the 100% world completion category and achieved the world record of 3 hours, 32 minutes, 27 seconds with it. 100% in particular enjoys plenty of levels and equipment obtained throughout the run, so it was only natural this would be the first place of its use. Something with less available resources, such as the All Bosses category, had little chance of making Golfless worth it, as obtaining extra necessary equipment without wasting too much time was impossible. That is, until Dark Souls Remastered speedrunners became filthy rich through the prom swap glitch, whose story I detailed in one of my previous videos. It will be linked in the description for those interested. Golfless in Remastered All Bosses was so groundbreaking that it completely changed the core of its route, switching from the Black Knight Halberd to sorceries only, utilized to this day. This is not, however, where the story ends, as 2 years later, another Golfless discovery led to absolute frenzy. After Skydan's discovery, Komul wishfully hoped for a full invulnerability spot, and understandably so. If there was no damage to negate, at the very least, there would be no need for acquiring the strong magic shield, resulting in further time save provided by the Golfless strategy. In August 2021, Komul's old wish would finally be fulfilled by the glitch hunter Androv T, who posted this video in the Discord server. It showed him standing in a new blind spot, completely unaffected by Kalameet's attacks, allowing not only to survive the assault, but to connect with more spellcasts per each cycle as well. Up until this point, the primary downside of Golfless was how long killing Kalameet took when directly compared to the regular fight. With Androv's method, however, up to 5 Soul Spears could connect per cycle, 3 more than at the edge of the arena, to which the players didn't need to travel anymore, speeding up the Golfless fight tremendously. Besides that, hitboxes around the dragon's tail actually extend so far down that Androv managed to consistently connect with a melee weapon, presenting even more routing opportunities. That being said, there is more to this new variation than it might seem at first. After entering the fight, it is important to stay far enough away from Kalameet's initial position to not bait an attack which would hit us at the blind spot. This means staying within the green zone, as even in the place of overlap, highlighted in orange, the bad attack takes priority. The same is true when waiting for Kalameet to come back between his cycles, hence why we must move away from the blind spot and not just stand there and wait for the approach. Returning to the blind spot too soon will make Kalameet perform the undesired attack and result in death. Returning too late might mean not having the time to connect with all of our moves. Judging when to go back would be simple if Kalameet's cycles were consistent, but after he leaves the map, the delay of him starting another cycle of approach is random, making this ordeal complicated. Is there something we could do in order to know when Kalameet returns? Audio cues could be the answer, but nothing is audible until it's too late. So do we just need to pray for our timing to work out? Besides many game-breaking glitches available to the speedrunners, Dark Souls also has plenty of minor ones, typically useless for speedruns. It is precisely such a glitch that finds use here, and it's almost hard to believe. At times, there can be instances of enemy health bars appearing seemingly randomly. If this could be triggered at will, it would technically be possible to see Kalameet's return without seeing Kalameet himself. Androv figured out that anytime an enemy leaves the screen while its health bar is visible, a fade-out animation of the bar is paused, and next time an enemy reappears back in frame, the animation will be forced to finish, even through walls. With correct camera management, this can be abused to see Kalameet's health bar as he starts to fly back for his next cycle, giving the speedrunners a perfect visual cue of timing their return to the blind spot. The Prepare to Die edition enjoys a very comfortable fight, with lock-on making every Soul Spear hit reliably. While remastered runners need to aim each spear manually. The lock-on, as you can see, makes everything whiff by a mile. The price you pay for 60 FPS, I guess. Thanks, QLOC. This makes the encounter much more difficult, but hitting 3 Soul Spears per cycle consistently is possible with enough practice. So, what does this mean for the future of Dark Souls speedruns, you might ask? Remastered All Bosses can seamlessly implement the new strategy into its route, saving time from skipping the strong magic shield, killing Kalameet in 2 cycles instead of 3, and not having to avoid Kalameet's first attack. The estimated time save is somewhere around a minute, which is absolutely massive considering the world record before this discovery stood at 1 hour, 1 minute and 46 seconds. For the Prepare to Die edition, the discovery means a major reroute is imminent. The possibility to hit Kalameet midair with a melee weapon takes away the necessity of obtaining strong magic spells. We could see the fastest route switching from the Black Knight Greatsword to Dragon Tooth. We are also likely to see the inclusion of completely new strategies, like skipping down the shortcut next to Artorias, or Seamwalk Golden Foggate skip. The doors are wide open at the moment, and following upcoming developments is sure to be exciting. Estimating the time this reroute could save is a lot more complex than in Remastered, as there are numerous things needing accurate timing, but we might be looking at multiple minutes being shaved off the current world record route, etching us closer and closer to the mythical sub 1 hour all bosses times in both versions of the game. These massive changes are what I love about Dark Souls speedrunning. There's always something new to unravel. And let's not forget that this entire avalanche started with Skydan, an individual, an enigma, who simply joined the Discord and shared something he thought had little value. Who knows what else might happen in the future? Will Skydan return with another surprise strategy? Will Andreov continue to push Dark Souls forwards with his knowledge and creativity? We just have to wait and see. But rest assured that once it happens, I will be here to tell you about it. If you've made it this far, please consider liking the video. It helps me out in knowing you enjoy this content, and don't forget to subscribe if you want more. But for now, thank you for watching and have a great day.